Welcome to the B Lounge podcast for all things business, insurance, and finance. Now, here's your host, Dr. T.
I am excited about this show today. I have my good friend, an amazing woman, talented, gifted, anointed, all of that good things. This is Dr. Lakara Foster, who's a psychic medium, minister, and spiritual teacher. She shares her gift of helping you reunite people with their departed loved ones and giving them the gifts of healing, closure, and peace while helping them to see death, life, and God in a new way. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. How is it going, Doc?
It's all is well and everything is under control.
That's good. That's good. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today. I am excited about this interview because personal reasons.
Yes. Personal reasons.
Personal reasons. I had the pleasure of being in the presence of Dr. Lakara Foster when my mother passed. I wanted to get some closure and just see how things was going. And it was such an insightful experiment and experience.
Yes.
And so that goes to me. Tell me about your journey to becoming a psychic medium teacher.
So this gift that I have, it is a gift that I was born with.
Okay.
It's a gift that I've had my whole entire life. However, I haven't always had the vocabulary to understand it or to describe it. But I've known since I was a child, a very young child, that I was in the presence of spirit.
Okay.
And so I probably would say over the last maybe 10 years has allowed me to be able to cultivate this gift, to understand it more, to train myself with it more. And even for, like the scripture says, like your gifts will make room for you. So now this is my full-time business.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Now, some people, they kind of look at what's the difference between a psychic medium and spirituality, or is there any difference between it? Like, kind of explain that.
In terms of like a psychic and a prophet, or what do you mean?
I don't know. Just kind of let's start with the difference between a psychic and a prophet.
So I personally say, one, that all of these gifts predate language.
Okay.
So we've had these gifts, and then we decided what we wanted to call them, and then we allowed other people to tell us, oh, this one's good and this one's bad, or this one's acceptable and this one is not acceptable. But I believe that every good and perfect gift is from above. That's James 1:17. Every good and perfect gift is from above. All of the gifts come from God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So with the psychic medium and spirituality,
yes.
how does that coexist or come together?
Being a psychic medium, it is spirituality, right? My gift allows me to be able to connect with spirit, and to be able to, in terms of, I'll say this much, right, so that your listeners can kind of get an understanding, because a lot of people want to know what's the difference between psychic and medium, or are they the same? And what I say is that all mediums are psychic, but all psychics are not mediums.
Right.
So being a psychic allows me to be able to tap into different timelines to see, and I don't believe that we're predicting the future, right? I believe that, time is an illusion and there are different things that are happening. And so this gift allows me to be able to tap into a particular timeline for a client that says, basically, if you keep going down this road, this is what I see.
Right,
okay?
right.
We all have free will, we all can course correct.
Exactly.
But being a medium allows me to be able to connect people with their departed loved ones, who have passed. A lot of people are seeking healing, closure, peace. And I always tell people when I'm meeting with them, one is that I'm not talking to the dead, right? And so I think a lot of times people think, oh, we're talking to our dead loved ones. And I say, there's no such thing as dead. All we are energy. We're energy before we enter these bodies, while we're in them, and when we depart from them. And this gift allows me to be able to tap into that energy. And I tell them I have no control over who comes through, right? But typically, if it's someone that they're hoping to connect with, that's usually who does come through.
Okay.
And that spirit communicates with me through signs and symbols. And that's kind of the relationship that I've built with spirit, that if spirit shows me two tombstones, that for me has kind of several meanings. It is either two people are buried next to each other, so it could be like the grandmother and the grandfather, or two people died the same way, right? Or two people died in close proximity to one another. And that is usually, if I get that, it's one of those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I love about you, Dr. Lakara,
Yeah,
is that I like that although you're a psychic medium, you're very spiritual.
I am.
Yes.
I am. Yeah.
So, and that's one of the things I love about you, is that you tap into that as well. And I think that psychic medium had such a negative connotation for so long.
Yes.
But I believe it's, like you said, I don't believe it's evil unless you use it for evil. Right.
And I think that we can all, like, one thing that I've realized is that, and what my mentor, Dr. Black, said was that, like, the universe isn't going to be a moral compass for your gifts.
Right.
Like, all of us can use our gifts for harm, or like, you got the shady mechanic, you got the shady lawyer, like, you got the shady psychic medium.
Right.
You can use your gift however you choose to. The universe is not gonna decide. Like, you have to decide that you're gonna use it for good.
Okay. With that, what are some of the challenges you face with it?
Honestly, I'm not going to say these were my challenges, right? I think that there was, because I'm also a minister.
Okay.
So that for me was, coming out of sorts, to be able to announce to the world that I am because this is what God said, right? You're going to be a psychic medium and you're going to be a minister. And I'm like, okay, well, how's that going to work, right? But, I believe God, and so it's so interesting. A friend of mine took me to see this lady. She was a prophet at our church. And this was like 2017, and she was talking to me, and she said, the church is about to talk about you. And I'm like, why would the church be talking about me? Like, it was so weird. And she touched my eyes and she touched my ears, and she said, but you're not going to be able to hear it, and you're not going to be able to see it. So fast forward a year that I launched my YouTube series, The Gift, and people are seeing me operate in this gifting. And I didn't know that the world was blowing up behind it, right? I had no idea like that. I literally recently, like 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine was like, girl, there are like so many YouTubes about you. There's like people giving their commentary. So one thing that I decided early on is that, like, I would not read the comments.
Okay.
Right? Because I'm like, if I read the comments, then that means that I'm looking for affirmation or confirmation, validation, right, outside of what God told me to do. So there was a lot of upheaval, if you will, in the church community. But what's so interesting is what I found is that a lot of people who were kind of leading the charge, like the psychic medium, witch, blah, 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 like she has to go, when they lost a loved one, then they came and see me, right? So then it made sense for them, because they couldn't get closure from the loss of a aunt or a mother or father. And then the gift made sense to them when they really needed something beyond counseling or therapy, when they needed something beyond the church. And I always say there's layers to healing. Like, my background is in counseling, so I believe in the therapeutic process. As a minister, I believe in that process. But as a psychic medium, I know that this gift provides healing as well. Yeah.
And so that goes into, what are some of the rewards?
So I believe that for me, what I have seen, honestly, is that there's so much healing that takes place. One example that I usually give is like this woman. I did a show in New Orleans. This was my first live show. And it's so, like, I don't know, like, how my mind works, right? I'm like, I'm just going to do a live show. Right? I'm like, I'm going to do a live show. I'm going to invite a bunch of people. And I did. And so it's so weird. We had sold, when we got to New Orleans, because it was in New Orleans, we had sold about 10 tickets, right? And I was like, okay, well, God, like, you told me to do this. If 10 people show up, 10 people show up, right? I'm going to do it. I had an opportunity to go on the local news channel to talk about it. And then I went on another, in the studios, there's like all of these different shows, right? Okay. So another show saw me, and they were like, well, we want you on tomorrow. So I was like, okay, cool. So then we had 2 shows. Well, by the time these 2 shows aired, we had sold over 100 tickets.
Wow.
And in this show, like, I'm sitting there, and there's like these 3 Black ladies, and they're sitting on the front row, right? They got their arms crossed, right? And I'm like, God, like, why would you do this to me, right? And they're like, not looking like they're about to participate at all. But God is so amazing that they're the first people to get a reading. And so they're like, I'm like, oh, there's a fourth sister who's not here.
Wow.
And I started telling them about the fourth sister. And I started talking about the cruise that they had just gone on and how she had slept the whole cruise because she was sick and she didn't want them to know how sick she was. And I started talking about this baby that was with her. And I said, this baby connects to the number 3. And one of the ladies, she says, that's my daughter. She said, my daughter died at 3 months old. And I'm telling her, like, you know, your sister has this baby. She wants you to know, like, everything is well. I'm giving her all this information. And this woman says to me, she says, this is the first time that I have felt peace around the passing of my daughter in 50 years. In 50 years.
Wow.
This woman has not had peace.
In 50 years.
50 years. She's not had peace around the passing of her daughter. And this one interaction that lasts, like 10, 15 minutes, that this woman is like, I can finally like let go of all of this pain that I've been carrying. So I believe that there's a lot of, not even I believe, I know that there's a lot of rewards to having this gift, and to others who have this gift, and to others who are using this gift to bring about healing, closure, and peace for people who need it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that was your experience.
Yes, it was. Yeah. It brought closure, it brought peace, it brought reassurance.
Yeah.
Good. You know, that I know she's watching over me, because like you said, I don't believe they die.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just transition.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah,
to the next realm.
Absolutely.
And so even now at the house, I feel her presence all the time.
Yes.
Her and other ones.
Yeah.
And so my aunt just passed.
Wow.
And so her thank you. And her well, my aunt just transitioned.
Yeah.
But a couple of months before she transitioned, my grandmother, my mother, and my auntie came to me in dreams that they was coming to get her.
Wow. So they let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can imagine when she passed, it was like, but she's good.
Right. It wasn't, I wasn't sad.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she's up there now.
Yeah.
But still, they're about to watch Young and the Restless and have church. Because that's all they did.
And I imagine the price is right was somewhere in there.
Yes. Yes, the price, definitely.
I just told you.
Yeah, you did. Definitely, they love the prices. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. See that?
I know. I'm telling you. Okay. Something just happened there.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Absolutely.
The Price is Right is definitely.
I know we're doing what we do right here. Right. It never goes off. It
never turns off.
No.
And so that kind of brings me to my next question. Like with me, both of us provide a service. Like me, mine is business consultation, insurance, and all of that. And many times before we get to that, it's a lot of energy where the people, they talk about a lot of stuff that's going on personal.
Okay.
And how do you stay grounded and protect your own energy with having all of that thrown at you? Like,
no, that's a great question.
you know, so
that's a really great question. And even to piggyback off of like what I was just saying about the show in the morning, right? I didn't realize how unprepared I was to have all of that energy. It was like the most tired I had been. Like I'd never been that tired before. The next day, and it took me like a week to really recuperate energetically from that. So from then on, I'm like, water is my thing. So like showers, and that's where I hear from God all the time. I love walking around barefoot, like on my floor and the ground. Crystals, different things like that help me to stay grounded. And then I'm always surrounded by like these amazing people who also keep me grounded. Amazing spirits and energy that keep me grounded. So it's a great balance. And then I do this work every day. So every day I do this work, I'm also doing the work of grounding every day.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's a lot.
Yeah. I think it's like anything else that comes with the territory.
Right.
And I made a vow like from that trip in New Orleans. Like, I was like, I'm never going to be caught off guard again. Feeling like this just took so long, and we're like, everyone's like, are you sick? I'm like, I'm not sick. I just
took so long to recover.
It did.
Yeah.
It took a while to recover. So now it's like I kind of keep myself, I keep myself going so that I don't have to experience that.
So like even now, like this Thursday, when Thanksgiving was here,
yes,
I literally took off.
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yes.
It's like I didn't even play the drums on
What?
Sunday.
You took some time. You took some time.
I needed some time, and I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I needed that time.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to recover.
Right. It's
I think everything is energy.
yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's like, even though like I'm doing this work, I'm connecting with spirit, you work with people, so that's energy. Right.
Right.
And so yeah, so we definitely have to do that work. And I always tell my clients like grounding is, and even my students when I teach a course, like that is something you have to do daily.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm kind of learning about this term called shadow work.
Okay.
And I said, well, I guess I do that now. I just didn't know it was a term.
Right. Lots of reflecting.
Self-reflecting.
Yeah.
Looking at myself.
Yeah.
Past experiences, traumas, what triggers it.
Yeah.
So kind of tell us a little bit about that. How does that work for a person, shadow work?
So I think with shadow work, again, it really is about looking at, like you said, looking at the things that we really don't want to look at.
Right.
Looking at the darkness
Exactly.
in ourselves. And I think for shadow work to really work, you have to have people in your life who are willing to call you on your BS.
Okay.
I think so. I think you have to have people in your life who are willing to hold you accountable to a standard that you may not even see yourself, right? But to a standard that says, no, I see you here. And so when I went to therapy a couple of years ago, I wanted to go to therapy because I told her, I was like, I have these blind spots, right? Which for me is kind of like shadow work. Like I can't see them.
Right.
And but I'm like, I'm here and I feel like I'm supposed to be here and I need you to help me get here.
Right.
And so she was really able to, make me look at things that were so uncomfortable, but face them. And I think that's really all shadow work is, to really kind of face, whatever, like we look at manipulation, right? Why am I manipulative? Where did I learn this from? How does this benefit me? But how does this harm me? And how does this harm others? And what do I need to change about myself?
Right.
So yeah, I think we all should be doing that work.
Right. And like with me, one of my friends, former friends,
Shadow work.
But I said, it got to be some truth in it. So let me take a look into what she was saying.
Good.
I was like, because maybe my other friends don't see it, but maybe this one saw something that I've never seen before.
That's good.
So I started reflecting. I was like, okay, let me just take a look and check myself to just make sure, because we're never at a place where we can't, there's no work to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, we're doing the work.
Right. And I feel like as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, and this is why I like doing these podcasts, because it's to help them. It's like, if you're not taking care of yourself and making sure you're okay, how do you expect for your business to flourish? How do you expect for people to understand the vision?
Yes.
And to go out there? How do you expect to even have the confidence to continue to do that business?
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's why I wanted to have these conversations, like putting this piece in there, because many times our entrepreneurs, we talk about how to brand, how to market, how to get financing, but we don't really talk to the inner person to make sure the inner person is okay and healed enough to go to that next level in their business.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
No, I love it. And again, that's why I'm a huge fan of therapy. I'm always like, on a therapy.
Right.
Here's my therapist number.
Right.
Like, I know I just sent my therapist so much business. Like she's like, you got one new house. I bet you did.
Right.
I bet you did, girl.
And I like therapy, but I also like psychic mediums. Because when I was about to buy this building, who did I call first?
Me.
I sure did.
Yes.
To get clarity,
Yes.
to get, because it was some cloudiness there. And I said, hey, I need clarity on
You
this.
sure did.
Yeah. And so
And we knew it was going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I want people to know there's nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
To have those deep conversations.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, even with this gift, a lot of it, the conversation is usually around the acceptability of it in terms of religion. And I think the problem with that is that a lot of people don't understand the why, right?
Exactly.
Why did King James say this? Why did he write this in 1611? Why are there no derogatory mentions of psychic mediumships or witches or tarot readers prior to this particular writing, right? And so a lot of people, won't ask the questions, just like, well, my mama said, my grandma said, and but I encourage people to do the work for themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, do the work. And listen, girl, I'm like, I got a roster full of like people, like church people and bishops, and I'm like, y'all better come get y'all healed. Come and get y'all healed.
Exactly. Sometimes religion and tradition messes us up.
Absolutely.
And I'm a believer. I'm saved, got the Holy Ghost, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But I also believe that God planted gifts in certain things to help you grow.
Absolutely.
And I believe that wholeheartedly.
And that's why I don't, it's like, I don't flinch when it comes to this gift, right? Like if I'm in Walmart and God says go and give a message, like I'm going to go and give a message.
Right.
Of course, I'm not asked like, I have a message for you. Would you like to receive it? I'm not going to buy more.
Right.
But when it comes to doing this work, it's just like I'm sold out to God.
Yes.
And so we talked about me having a real estate license earlier, and when I went to see a tarot reader in New Orleans, who knew nothing about my gift or anything. She's pulling the cards and everything, and she like lands on this card, and she says, listen, I don't know what this spiritual gift is that you have, but it's the only thing that God's going to support you doing. So I was like, well, I got to let them know. I don't need a real estate license, right? I don't need this teaching certificate, because I was like holding up.
Your assignment.
And I have watched God. I've watched the hand of God like literally shift things immediately, and put me in rooms and put my name in rooms, and put me on television when I didn't want to really be on television. But God's like, well, you said you go where I send you. So
we got to trust God's plan. We don't know it.
Jeremiah 29:11, like I live by that scripture. Yes. God says, I know the plan for you.
It's a journey. It's definitely a journey. And I grew up, my mom, she walked in the fivefold ministry, so she had to get the prophecy, laying hands, all of that good stuff. I love it. And sometimes I feel that myself.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I'd be like, But lately I've been more surrendering to it. And so
that's a good word.
It's a journey. Yeah. It's definitely a journey. So that brings me to my next question. What techniques do you use to connect with spirit? If you can share. Because it's so sensitive. And so,
I tell people it's like, for me, the gift is never off, right? So if you have a television at home that you leave on all the time, you don't necessarily know what's on there unless you're tuned into it. So for me, spirit is always around me. Spirit is always with me, but I'm not always tuned in. Okay. And there may be things that happen that make me tune in, right? Somebody could walk by and it's just like, and it just happened to me. I'll give you a little bit of a story. I was in New Orleans and I was driving down. It was so, I don't want to say random, because I don't want to use the word random. We know it's not random. I met this girl at this event, and she's really cool. And she's like, oh, like, we should hang out while you're here. She's like, I have an extra ticket to this art district run thing in New Orleans. I was like, oh, I've never been to that. We should go. So I drove down to the French Quarters, and I see this couple walking, this guy and this girl. And my thought was, oh my gosh, they're a beautiful couple. That's what I thought. Like, I was so like, wow, they are a beautiful couple. Fast forward, we've gone through all the art installations, galleries, and everything, and we're getting ready to leave this one place. Like, we're getting ready to leave for the evening. And we run into the couple. And the couple is a friend of the girl who invited me. Wow. And instantly, this girl's mother comes to me and says, I need you to talk to her. I need you to talk to them. Like, this is why you're here. So anybody that knows me knows, like, this is my tale, right? Whenever this is happening, this means that, like, spirit is around and I'm probably about to have to give a message. And I say to her, like, they're talking and I'm like, oh, I'm like, I just really want to, like, disappear right now. Spirit's like, nope, like, this is why you're here. So I turned to the young lady. We all getting ready to leave. They're giving hugs and everything. She's introduced us. And I said, may I ask you a question? And she said, yeah. And I said to her, I said, I'm a psychic medium. I said, is your mother passed? She says, yes. I said, did she pass of cancer? She says, yes. So I'm giving her all of this information. And then I turned to the guy. I said, you guys broke up a little while ago, but you guys are back together, right? She says, yes. I said, you are her husband. Like, her mother sent her for you. Well, I didn't know that he had already bought the ring. Wow. But he had not asked her yet. But it was like, spirit was confirming for him, yes, this is your wife. Spirit was confirming for her, like, yes, this is your husband. The mother was fine. Like, she didn't have to grieve the way that she was grieving. And like all of these things happening for like the good, right? For the good. And so it's like when these things happen and Spirit says you got to go do this, then I just got to go do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm never.
You can't be disobedient.
No, because that has happened to me before.
Yeah.
Like Spirit was like, go and tell that lady over there that her father is coming through, and I wouldn't go. Like I was in a pizza place, and I would not go. I would not move. And Spirit was like, I'm her father. I had cancer. She's grieving. She just needs to know I'm okay, and I would not move. And I got outside, and like 3 of my tires were all flat. Like I know I had not hit anything.
What? Did you go back in there?
She was gone. But I was like, I'll never do that again.
No, we can't be disobedient.
I was like, I will never do that again. So yeah.
We can't be disobedient.
Yeah, no. You're right.
So how do you handle difficult or sensitive information that comes through?
You know, I always say that Spirit doesn't necessarily give us what we want, but Spirit will always give us what we need.
Okay.
And so for me, none of the information is sensitive. Like if Spirit says it, I'm going to give the information. And I have a class that I teach, I have a course that I teach, and I tell my students, like, even though I'm teaching you guys this, like, I still wrestle with these things. So it's like Spirit may give me something, and I'm trying to figure out.
Right.
It's like, girl, get out of the way. Like, this has nothing to do with you. And so I had a client call, and her husband's coming through, and I hear him in my ear, and he shows me, like, the movie Selena. So it's me trying to figure out, like, okay, is he talking about Jennifer Lopez? Is he talking about, and Spirit just kept saying, just say Selena. Just say, but I'm trying to filter it out through my own experience. So finally I tell her, I'm like, I think your husband said just to say Selena, right? So she starts crying. I was like, yeah, he has this like bitty bitty bomb bomb song like he won't stop singing it. And then she starts laughing, right? And she's like, it is my favorite movie in the whole world.
Wow.
She's like, and I watched it last night. So it's like, you know, I have to get out of my own way sometimes.
Wow.
So, yeah, I know.
Wow.
I know.
Now, these other questions are for people who feel like they have that gift,
yes,
and don't know what to do.
Absolutely.
And so, my thing is, what are some of the core principles of your spiritual teachers? Like, so they can kind of understand how to navigate that and understand it. What are some of the core principles they should look at?
One I would say is to be authentic.
Okay.
Right. I think authenticity, like, I don't think that you can really fully operate in this gift without authenticity. And I think that just means one, like accepting I have this gift. One, I think that we all have these psychic capabilities.
I was
right?
just about to ask you that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. Now, does everybody want to do this for a living? Probably not. But I mean, it serves us where it serves us, right? It helps to be discerning. And I also think that having a sense of ethics is so important. Like I teach a whole section on ethics because one, it's like even with this gift, I would tell people you never have to come see me again, right? Like I have clients that see me like monthly because they have questions about their business or they have questions, that's fine. But if I'm telling you this is how we're connecting to your mother, you can see her in a butterfly, you can see her in a number of ways. Like we're not going to limit the way that Spirit's going to communicate with us. But I'm telling you, like, this is how you can do it. Then there's really no need for you to come back to me. Right. And so people will say, you know, oh, like I saw a reader and they were like, for extra $19.99. Like, I'm like, no.
And we'll take all of it.
It does not, right? And I'm like, and take the course, like, come and take the course and I can teach you more. But, you know, or people like, oh, they said, like, have a curse on me and I'm like, no, we're not doing it. Yeah. So kind of having that authenticity, having a sense of ethics, compassion for people, like that is huge for us to have a level of compassion, especially when we're doing mediumship. Because I've seen people like do this work and I've seen it where it has felt like entertainment, right? I have this gift, I can connect you to what I'm doing. And I'm like, no, like for me, it has to be about like the work of grief. That's my thought.
I can tell you passionate about it.
Yeah.
You know your purpose.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I could tell.
Yeah.
I could tell.
Wholeheartedly, yeah.
I remember, this is like a side note, I remember when I saw you on Love and Hip Hop.
Yeah.
They were so shocked.
Listen.
I was like, that's my girl. That's my girl right there. Because they was kind of like,
it was
skeptical.
So funny. Like,
Yeah.
I never really got to like tell this whole story. But the story itself was like, it was just God. You know what I mean? and watching God continue to show up over and over again in this experience. But I asked God, like, I was like, one, I didn't want to go. Well, I'll tell you what was so interesting. I had just given a reading on this like particular day. I had just given a reading, and I was using the example because I don't watch a lot of television. But in this reading, I was relating to my client. I was like, oh, like take Ray J and Princess, for example, right? I said that. And I don't know much about these people, but I just knew like what I just seen in the headlines of it. 30 minutes later, right, they call me and they're like, we're doing this show. We want you to be a part of this show. They were like, the only people that we can tell you that we may have is like Ray J Princess. And I said, I don't want to know anything else. If I'm going to do it, I don't want to know anybody else that's going to be on the show, right? I was like, let me go in cold. But it was just the fact that I feel like God was confirming, you just said this, it just showed up. And then they were like, loving hip hop. I was like, no, right? I was like, I don't want anybody throwing drinks in my face. They're like, that's not gonna happen. So we did the show, but like the whole time, I didn't know these people. I didn't know their stories. There was so much more that even happened behind the scenes that wasn't shown on television. But I'll tell you, when we wrapped that day, the producer came to me and she says, listen, like your life is about to change. She's like, this is going to air in like 4 months and your life is going to change. So whatever you need to do in 4 months, like you need to get ready, get ready, like Bishop Jakes be saying. Right. So I did, right. I got my website, I got my systems in order, I got everything in order. That aired, I think like on a Monday. By Wednesday, like I was completely booked for the year. And this was in May. Wow. This is in May. I was like completely, like people were calling like, I'm trying to book. Like it says you have no more until like. So then I started putting some other things in place. But yeah, wow. It was a beautiful experience. Wow. And I'm still like connected to like some of the people on the cast. Like some of them like still call and check in and get readings and everything. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't stop. No, it doesn't stop at all. And so that brings me to my next question. How can an individual cultivate their own spiritual awareness? I think that really is about like doing the work. Okay. Right? It is about doing the work. And whatever that looks like for you. For me, it looks like meditating. It looks like praying. I have an altar in my house. I love reading about African traditional religions. And I want to incorporate them even into my own Christian beliefs, right? How can Oshun coexist with Jesus? Just does in my life, right? And so whatever people need for, like I go to the river and make offerings to Oshun the same way I go to church and go to the altar and, you know, pray for people or whatever the case is. So whatever people need to do for themselves, I don't think that there's a right or wrong way. Right. I think it's really what speaks to you on a, you know, on a cellular level, on a spiritual level. Right. You know, I had a client once, she says, well, I don't know how to do my altar. And somebody says you have to do this. I said, there's no right way to do it. Thank you. Yeah. Because I've been trying to figure mine out. And then I was like, I don't think it's what you want on your altar. Absolutely. I think when I went and saw NDRE in concert, she had her altar set up. Okay. And it was just set up the way she wanted it set up. Absolutely. And I was like, I've been trying, it's no right or wrong way to do it. I have like a prayer jar on there. When people tell me things, I'm like, I'm going to put it in my prayer jar. And I write their name and the issue and like what I'm hoping to see from them. And I put it in my prayer jar. So we was having some technical difficulties, so we are back. Yeah. And so we was talking about creating your altar, where there's not a right or wrong to it. Yeah. And it took me a minute to understand that. It's just really what you feel like should be on your altar and how it should be created, correct? And allow spirit to speak to you. Okay. And things that align with you. So I have like my Ankh and I have my Oshun statue, and I have things that connect with my Oshun statue, and I have crystals, a mini Bible, like I have just different things that are on there that make me feel connected to the altar, and I try to keep like fresh flowers on there at all times as well. Okay. I got to figure out what mine is going to have. Yeah. So how do you view the relationship between the physical and spiritual realms? How do you view that? That's such a good question. I think that there's an interconnectedness that so it's kind of like when the Bible says like on earth as it is in heaven, right? I'll say that what Spirit has allowed me to understand is we don't have to die to get to heaven. We shouldn't have to die, right, to get to heaven. The whole point of, because we don't die. because we don't die, right? But the whole point of this experience and being in these physical bodies is really to experience heaven while we're here.
Right.
But most of us we're gonna miss that, right? Because we got our day-to-day stuff that's happening. But I think a part of it is really tapping in to figure out how can I create heaven on earth for myself. Yeah, instead of just experiencing hell on earth.
That's true.
Which is an option.
That's true.
Yes.
That could be a whole nother series right there.
Absolutely.
Gonna mess some people up, boy.
Yes.
Now, what advice would you give to someone who is skeptical of the physical psychic abilities or spirituality?
I would tell people to try it for themselves, right? What's so interesting is what I find is no one tells me that they're skeptical.
Right.
They only tell me after I've done the work that they're skeptical. They were like, oh my gosh, I came in, I was so skeptical, but now you said this, and so I believe. So I've never had anyone come and say like, oh, I'm very skeptical of this work, because it's energy work, right? So for me, it's like I want people to come open. I want them to come, like, bring their full self so that we can really connect energetically. I also tell people, like, don't surprise people, right? So I'll have people like, oh, about my mom, she doesn't know what's going on. I'm like, don't do that, right? Like, I want people to have an opportunity to kind of understand what's about to take place. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm excited to hear about the new book that's about to come out.
Yes.
The Morning After.
Yes.
Explain it.
So the morning after, it is embracing, it's a tool to be able to help with grief, right? Showing the connection between grief and mediumship and teaching people how to live and love again after loss. So what I've done in the book is I've kind of outlined one, like, what is mediumship? What is grief, right? Why is there a connection between the two? How can we help people? Because what I realized in this work is that there's a lot of people who are stuck in their grief. Right. And I found that, like, grief can be a thief. And so for me, I think my purpose is about helping people get unstuck, because God wants to use us. Right. So anybody that God is sending to me or I'm, interacting with, especially in this walk of grief, it's like they're stuck. Right. They didn't get the chance to tell mama bye, or they didn't get the chance to say this, and so there's no closure. But once they figure out, like, oh wow, like, I'll tell people, one is that I ask God, like, why this gift, right? Why this gift? And God says, I promise my people eternal life. How will they know I've kept my promise if the medium doesn't demonstrate the gift? That's true. How will we know that there's eternal life if the medium cannot use this gift to communicate with a loved one who's passed, that's bringing validation and confirmation to the experience, that says, even though I'm not in this physical body, I'm still here. Right. And so this book really gives us a lot of tools to be able to deal with grief, and also talks about, like, the history of mediumship. What does that look like? What does my process look like? But also, how can we heal this grief through the tool of mediumship? Okay. Okay. So when is the book scheduled to be released? We are looking at, like, a mid-December release, maybe a little bit earlier than that. The book should be going to print by the end of the week. Okay. So I'm very excited about that. I'm excited about it. I am too. Yeah. I am too. I'm so excited that I've already have, like, a number of podcasts signed up. But this is the exclusive. This is I love first. It. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I feel so special. Yeah. Yes. So we got many things that are signed up or lined up for this. I'm going back to Lilydale next year, and what Lilydale is, it's fascinating. Yes. So Lilydale is this fascinating place. It is, I call it, like, the Coachella for mediums, right? So if you're a medium, chances are you've probably heard of this place. And I had the distinction of being the first Black medium, the first African-American medium to ever be on the historic Lakeside Auditorium since 1879. So they've had people like Abraham Lincoln, they've had Wayne Dyer, they've had Deepak Chopra, and Susan B. Anthony. And so being able to go there, and it's so awesome, like, being the first, like, it's a lot of white people, right? So I'm, like, walking around the grounds, and everybody's like, you're Dr. Lakara, you're Dr. Lakara. It's like my pictures everywhere. But really kind of even watching this group or this, organization really understand the need for diversity in even this space, right? Like, we talk about diversity and inclusion in all of these other corporate spaces, but even this space, and knowing, like, even for our people, no, it's okay, right? It's
right.
okay to go and see someone that
Mhm.
has this gift. It's not demonic. It's not witchcraft.
Right,
It is a
right.
gift from God,
Mhm.
and I can get what I need to be able
Right.
to heal.
Right.
So being able to do that and go back there is going to be, I'm going back next August.
Okay.
Yeah, July, August or so. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited.
So, I know I'm going to get a lot of people asking, where can they find you? 'Cause I know I'm already going to, I need her number. I need her
I love
website.
it.
I need her email.
I love
I've
it.
been going through some things myself,
Yeah.
so where can they find Dr. Lakara, the gift?
Yes. So my website is Lakara with the gift.
Okay.
And that's Lakara with the gift.
Okay.
.com. And then on all social media platforms that's Lakara with the gift.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Any parting words you want to give to our audience?
Any parting words? I love
Especially
this.
talking to our entrepreneurs. That's going to be.
I'll tell you this, right? I work with a lot of entrepreneurs.
Okay.
I have a lot of entrepreneurs that have me on retainer that because they want to know, like, I'm going into this meeting, or I was just pretty much like when you're building, like,
right, yes.
you're like, hey, should I do this? Should I do this? But having this gift to be able to tap into particular timelines to see this is how best I can help my clients. So I would say as an entrepreneur, like, yes, pray, right, and meditate and fast and all of those things. But you can also seek guidance if you need guidance, even for your business. Because people come to me all the time, business, relationships. When I'm going to get married, I'm like, Lord, like.
I don't ask when I'm going to get married. I never ask that way. Right. But I always ask, what about this?
Yeah. So for entrepreneurs, really having someone. I love that Beyonce uses that. She uses that lyric in her song. I think it's Virgo's Groove, where she says, the psychic told me we got some to do. Right. And I'm like, you better talk about it, B. Right. So Beyonce going to see a psychic, like, come on, okay.
Right. Yeah. I saw Beyonce in your hometown.
Oh, did you?
Okay. Yes. Okay. I went just for that.
I love it. How was it?
It was amazing.
Awesome. I saw her in London.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw her in London.
Yeah. So I am happy to have you here. We gotta have you back. Probably do like a training.
Oh, I would love that.
Yes, we gotta figure out how that would look.
Yeah, I actually did 2 workshops while I was in Lilydale, and one of them was like, why won't they talk to me?
Okay.
Overcoming barriers to spirit communication, because people want to know, like, how if I feel like I have this gift, how can I better tap into it? Why am I not? And also looking at using this gift again to heal, right? With grief, people come with grief. So we can definitely do that. I would love to do that in your state of the art classroom. I've been doing the board and everything.
Yes, you are. Because I have a few clients, like, they struggle spiritually.
Wow.
Like, they struggle spiritually, and that struggle affects them in their business.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, one, they was like crying, saying, I just can't break through this.
And what are they trying to break through?
It's like they feel like they don't have a relationship with God.
Oh, wow.
Or, need closure.
Yeah.
On some things that has happened.
Well, hopefully they are watching this podcast. And you can lead them to the right person.
Yes.
For some guidance.
Yes. So thank you so much, Dr. Lakara with the gift. Looking forward to reading the book. Yes. Check us out and have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to the V Lounge podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe and tell a friend. Follow us on all social media outlets, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for continuous updates. Talk to you soon.